The deafening clatter of a body hitting the gym floor cut through the ambient noise of clanking weights and whirring treadmills. Patrick O'Brien's head snapped up from where he'd been adjusting the leg press machine, his fitness trainer instincts kicking in before his conscious mind could even process what had happened. A woman had collapsed near the free weights section, her body crumpled in an unnatural heap on the rubber mat flooring. "Dad, what happened?" His 8-year-old daughter Emma's voice piped up from where she sat on a nearby bench, homework spread across her lap. Patrick had no choice but to bring her to work today after her after-school program had been unexpectedly canceled. "Stay there, sweetheart," Patrick commanded, already sprinting across the gym floor. "Don't move." He reached the woman in seconds, his first aid training guiding his movements. She was lying face down, her expensive-looking athletic wear drenched in sweat. With careful movements, Patrick turned her onto her back and checked her breathing. Relief flooded him when he felt a steady breath against his hand. Her pulse was rapid but present. "Someone call 911." He shouted, and immediately several gym members pulled out their phones. The woman was striking even in unconsciousness, sleek dark hair pulled back in a now disheveled ponytail, olive skin, and features that seemed delicately sculpted. Patrick guessed she was around his age, mid-30s. He'd never seen her at Downtown Fitness before, and he knew most of the regulars. Her eyelids fluttered, then opened, revealing disoriented hazel eyes that gradually focused on his face. "Take it easy," Patrick said gently. "You fainted. Help is on the way." "No ambulance," the woman mumbled, attempting to sit up. "I'm fine." Patrick placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "You're not fine, you just collapsed." "Low blood sugar, probably," she insisted, stronger now. "I haven't eaten today, please, no hospital." Emma had appeared at his side, her science homework forgotten. "Dad, maybe she needs juice, like when my blood sugar gets low." Patrick glanced at his daughter, torn between pride at her thoughtfulness and annoyance that she hadn't stayed put. "That's actually a good idea." "Emma, could you grab an orange juice from my bag?" As Emma scurried off to retrieve it, the woman's gaze followed her. "Your daughter?" Patrick nodded. "Emma, 8 going on 30. A hint of a smile crossed his face despite the situation. "I'm Willow," the woman said, attempting to sit up again. This time, Patrick helped her into a seated position against the wall. "Willow Winters. Patrick O'Brien, I'm a trainer here." He didn't add that he was working double shifts to make ends meet, since his ex-wife had moved across the country 2 years ago, leaving him with full custody and child support checks that arrived sporadically at best. Emma returned with the juice, handing it to Willow with the solemn importance of a child entrusted with a critical mission. "Thank you, Emma," Willow said, taking the bottle and sipping slowly. By then, the gym manager had arrived along with paramedics. Despite Willow's continued protests, they insisted on checking her vitals. Patrick stepped back, intending to return to his client who was waiting patiently by the leg press. "Wait," Willow called. "Thank you, both of you." Patrick nodded, placing his hand on Emma's shoulder. "Just doing what anyone would do. Feel better." As they walked away, Emma whispered loudly, "Dad, did you see her watch? I think it was a real Rolex, like the ones in the magazines." "Hush," Patrick murmured, though he had noticed the gleaming timepiece, along with the designer workout gear that probably cost more than his weekly salary. 2 days later, Patrick was spotting a client on the bench press when the gym's front desk attendant approached him. "There's someone asking for you at reception," she said. "Says it's important." Puzzled, Patrick excused himself after ensuring his client was taking a proper rest between sets. He was surprised to see Willow Winters standing in the lobby, looking considerably healthier than the last time he'd seen her. She wore dark jeans and a simple white blouse that somehow looked more expensive than his entire wardrobe. "Mr. O'Brien," she said, extending her hand. "I wanted to thank you properly." Patrick shook her hand, acutely aware of his worn gym shirt and the perspiration dampening his brow. "It's just Patrick, and there's no need for thanks." "I disagree," Willow replied. Her voice carried a subtle authority that made Patrick think she was used to being listened to. "I'd like to take you and Emma to dinner, as a thank you." Patrick hesitated. "That's really not necessary, please," Willow interrupted. "I insist, plus I have something for Emma." As if on cue, Emma burst through the doors from the childcare room where she spent time after school on days Patrick worked late. "Dad, Marissa let me finish my art project early," and she stopped, recognizing Willow instantly. "Oh, you're the lady who fainted." Willow laughed, a warm sound that transformed her elegant features into something more approachable. "I am indeed, and you're my juice-bringing hero." Emma beamed at the recognition while Patrick suppressed a sigh. "Emma, Miss Winters was just saying thank you for our help the other day." "Actually," Willow corrected gently, "I was inviting you both to dinner as a proper thank you. Are you free tonight?" Before Patrick could formulate a polite refusal, Emma exclaimed, "Yes." "We're just having mac and cheese again, because it's Thursday and Dad always works late on Thursdays, so we have quick dinners." Patrick felt heat rise to his face. There was nothing like an 8-year-old to lay bare the mundane struggles of single parenthood to a complete stranger who probably dined at 5-star restaurants. To her credit, Willow didn't miss a beat. "Mac and cheese happens to be one of my favorite foods. But perhaps we could try the Italian place down the street. I hear their pasta is excellent." Patrick recognized the restaurant, a mid-range place that wouldn't make him feel completely out of his depth, but was still a treat compared to his and Emma's usual fare. "We'd be honored," he found himself saying, surprising even himself. Willow's smile brightened further. "Wonderful. Shall we say 7 o'clock? That gives you time to finish work and me time to wrap up a conference call." After exchanging phone numbers, Patrick, somewhat self-conscious of his 3-year-old phone model, compared to her latest iPhone, they agreed to meet at the restaurant. As Willow left, Emma tugged at Patrick's arm. "Dad, she's pretty. And nice." "She's a client who's being polite," Patrick corrected, though he couldn't deny either observation. "Now let me finish up with Mr. Rodriguez, and then we need to go home so you can do your homework before dinner." That evening, Patrick found himself standing in front of his modest closet, trying to determine what constituted appropriate attire for a thank-you dinner with a woman who wore a watch worth more than his car. He settled on his only pair of dark jeans without wear at the knees and a blue button-down shirt he normally reserved for parent-teacher conferences. Emma had no such wardrobe anxiety, proudly donning her favorite dress, a purple affair with sequined stars that had been a birthday gift from his sister. "How do I look?" she asked, twirling so the dress flared out around her knees. Patrick smiled, his heart swelling with love for his daughter, who somehow maintained her joyful spirit despite the challenges of their life. Like the brightest star in the sky. They arrived at the restaurant exactly at 7 to find Willow already seated at a corner table. She stood to greet them, and Patrick noticed she'd chosen an outfit not unlike his own nice jeans and a simple top, though hers was clearly designer. She'd paired it with the same Rolex and elegant earrings that probably cost more than his monthly rent. "You look lovely, Emma," Willow said as they approached. "Purple is my favorite color, too." Emma beamed. "Really? Dad says it's the color of royalty." "Your dad is right," Willow agreed, gesturing for them to sit, "and royalty deserves presents." From beside her chair, she produced a gift bag with tissue paper spilling from the top. Emma looked to Patrick for permission, and at his nod, she eagerly accepted it. Inside was an art set not the basic kind from discount stores, but a professional-grade collection of paints, brushes, and sketchbooks housed in a wooden case. "Dad said you were making art at the gym today," Willow explained. "I thought you might like some new supplies." Emma's eyes widened to the size of saucers. "This is the best present ever." She launched herself at Willow, throwing her arms around the woman's neck in a spontaneous hug. Patrick winced at his daughter's exuberance. "Emma, manners," he reminded her gently. But Willow was laughing, returning the hug with genuine warmth. "It's perfectly all right. Honest reactions are the best kind." Over dinner, Patrick had the house specialty pasta, while Emma devoured a margarita pizza. And Willow opted for risotto. Conversation flowed more easily than Patrick had anticipated. Willow asked Emma about school and her interests, listening with sincere attention to the 8-year-old's animated descriptions of her science project and best friend troubles. When Emma excused herself to use the restroom, Patrick finally asked the question that had been nagging at him. "So what brings you to downtown fitness? It's not exactly." He trailed off, not wanting to sound judgmental. "Not exactly where people with Rolexes usually work out." Willow finished with a knowing smile. Patrick flushed. "I didn't mean it's fine," she assured him. "I usually go to a private gym in my building, but they're renovating. A colleague recommended your place, said it had the best trainers." Her eyes met his with a warmth that made Patrick suddenly very aware of how long it had been since he'd had dinner with an attractive woman who wasn't his sister or an elderly client. "And what do you do?" he asked, steering his thoughts to safer territory. "I run a tech company," Willow replied. "Winter Tech. We develop educational software." Patrick nodded, vaguely recognizing the name. "That sounds important," Willow shrugged. "It pays the bills. What about you? How long have you been at downtown?" 5 years as a trainer. "Took the job after my divorce when I needed more flexibility for Emma." He hadn't meant to mention the divorce, but something about Willow made it easy to talk. Emma returned before Willow could respond, and the conversation shifted back to lighter topics. By the time they'd finished dessert tiramisu for the adults and an enormous ice cream sundae for Emma, Patrick was surprised to find he genuinely enjoyed himself. When the check arrived, Patrick reached for it automatically, but Willow was quicker. "This was my invitation," she reminded him. "My thank you." Pride warred with practicality in Patrick's mind. The meal would put a significant dent in his budget, but he'd been raised to believe men paid for meals. As if reading his thoughts, Willow added softly, "Please, it would mean a lot to me." Something in her expression, a hint of vulnerability beneath the confidence, made Patrick relent. "Thank you. It was wonderful." Outside the restaurant, Emma yawned dramatically despite her sugar intake, and Patrick checked his watch. "Past someone's bedtime," he observed. "It was worth it," Emma declared, clutching her new art set to her chest. Willow smiled. "I had a lovely time. Thank you both for joining me." An awkward moment hung between them, the kind that comes when strangers have shared a pleasant evening but have no established protocol for what comes next. Patrick broke it first. "We should get home. Thank you again for dinner and the gift." "Could I give you a ride?" Willow offered. "I have my car." Patrick was about to decline when Emma chimed in. "We took the bus. Dad's car is making the funny noise again." Willow raised an eyebrow, and Patrick explained, "Timing belt. It's on the list of things to fix when the next paycheck comes in." "Then a ride is the least I can offer," Willow insisted. When a sleek black Tesla pulled up moments later, Emma let out an excited gasp. "Your car drives itself." The driver's door opened to reveal not a chauffeur, but a young man in his 20s. "Not exactly," Willow explained. "This is my brother, Wesley. He helps me out sometimes." Wesley nodded a greeting as they approached. "The famous gym heroes," he said with a grin. "Willow hasn't stopped talking about you too." Patrick couldn't help noticing that, despite his casual demeanor, Wesley's watch matched his sister's in quality, and his casual clothes bore designer labels Patrick recognized from magazines. The ride to Patrick's apartment was brief, but illuminating. While Emma chattered with Wesley about the Tesla's features, Patrick was acutely aware of the contrast between Willow's world and his own. As they pulled up to his modest apartment complex, he felt a familiar pang of inadequacy, the same one he'd experienced during his marriage to Emma's mother, who had constantly reminded him of his limited prospects. "Thank you for the ride," Patrick said as they exited the car. "And for everything." Willow rolled down her window. "Would it be all right if I called you sometime?" Maybe we could have coffee. The request caught Patrick off guard. Was this wealthy, successful woman actually interested in seeing him again? Or was it just politeness? I'd like that, he heard himself say. Emma waved enthusiastically as the Tesla pulled away. I like her, Dad, she declared as they walked toward their building. She looks at you the way Princess Tiana looks at Prince Naveen, Patrick chuckled despite himself. You watch too many Disney movies. You can never watch too many Disney movies, Emma replied with the certainty only children possess. Inside their two-bedroom apartment, Patrick helped Emma prepare for bed, his mind replaying the evening. He told himself not to read too much into it. Women like Willow Winters didn't date struggling single fathers who lived paycheck to paycheck. She was being kind, perhaps even charitable. The thought stung his pride, but he pushed it aside as he tucked Emma in and kissed her forehead. Sweet dreams, pumpkin. Dad. Emma's voice was drowsy but insistent. When Miss Willow calls, say yes, okay? I think she's lonely. Patrick paused in the doorway. What makes you say that? Emma yawned. Her eyes, they look like yours did after Mom left, before we got our rhythm back. Patrick stood frozen, struck by his daughter's perception. Then he softly closed her door, wondering if an 8-year-old might have seen something he'd missed entirely. 3 days passed with no call from Willow. Patrick told himself it was for the best their worlds were too different, the potential complications too numerous. Yet he couldn't help checking his phone more frequently than usual or scanning the gym entrance whenever the door opened. On the 4th day, he was helping Emma with her math homework at their kitchen table when his phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Patrick O'Brien, he answered professionally. Patrick, it's Willow. Her voice sounded different, strained. I'm sorry I didn't call sooner. There was a crisis at work. No problem, he replied, trying to sound casual. Everything okay now? A beat of silence. Not exactly. This is going to sound strange, but I could really use a friend right now. Someone outside my usual circle. Patrick was already reaching for his keys. Where are you? 20 minutes later, he and Emma were seated in a small coffee shop downtown. Willow sat across from them, her usual polished appearance somewhat diminished. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and dark circles shadowed her eyes. I'm sorry to drag you both out like this, she said, hands wrapped around a steaming mug. Emma, occupied with her new sketchbook, merely shrugged. Dad says friends help friends. Willow's eyes met Patrick's over the table. Is that what we are, friends? I'd like to think so, Patrick replied honestly. Willow took a deep breath. My company is being targeted for a hostile takeover. A competitor wants our latest project, an educational platform for disadvantaged schools. She ran a hand through her hair, disheveling it further. I've spent 3 years developing it, and they want to dismantle it for parts and sell them to the highest bidders. Patrick listened as she explained the corporate maneuvering, the betrayal by a trusted board member, the late nights trying to secure allies. I'm sorry, he said when she finished. That sounds incredibly stressful. Willow gave a hollow laugh. The crazy thing is, everyone in my life just keeps telling me to take the money and walk away. Even Wesley thinks I should sell. She looked down at her coffee. But this project matters. It could help millions of kids access quality education. Then don't give up, Patrick said simply. Willow looked up, surprised. Just like that? Just like that. He shrugged. If it matters to you, fight for it. Emma, who had been quietly drawing, pushed her sketchbook across the table. On the page was a childish but recognizable portrait of Willow, standing tall with what appeared to be a superhero cape flowing behind her. Dad says when things get hard, you just have to remember why you started, Emma explained, pointing to her drawing. You're like a superhero for kids who need help learning. Willow's eyes filled with tears as she studied the drawing. May I keep this? She asked softly. Emma nodded solemnly. It's to remind you. Patrick watched the interaction, a warm feeling spreading through his chest. In that moment, Willow wasn't a millionaire tech executive, but simply a woman facing a challenge, finding unexpected support from an 8-year-old with a crayon. Their coffee extended to an early dinner at a nearby diner, Emma's choice this time, and by the time they parted ways, some of the tension had left Willow's shoulders. "Thank you," she said to Patrick as they stood on the sidewalk. "For listening, for not telling me what to do." "Anytime," he replied, and meant it. This time when she asked if she could call again, there was no hesitation in his answer. Over the next few weeks, a pattern emerged. Willow would call or text, sometimes about her ongoing corporate battle, sometimes just to ask about their day. Patrick found himself looking forward to their conversations, to her genuine interest in Emma's school projects, to her laugh when he shared gym client anecdotes. They met for coffee, for walks in the park, for Saturday afternoon movies with Emma. Each time, Patrick expected Willow to grow bored with their simple activities, but she seemed to relish them, often commenting on how refreshing it was to do normal things. One evening, after Emma had gone to bed, Patrick received a text from Willow. "We won. Board voted against the takeover." He called immediately, and her joy was palpable even through the phone. "That's fantastic news. I couldn't have done it without you too," Willow said, her voice warm. "Your support kept me going." Patrick brushed off the praise. "You did all the hard work." "Will you let me celebrate with you tomorrow? I was thinking a picnic in the park, something simple." The way she specified simple made Patrick wonder if she was being cautious about his financial situation. The thought stung, but he pushed it aside. "That sounds perfect." "Emma has been asking when we'd see you again." "Just Emma," Willow teased, and Patrick felt his heart rate quicken. "No," he admitted, "not just Emma." The next day dawned clear and warm. Patrick and Emma met Willow at the city park, where she had already claimed a spot under a sprawling oak tree. A wicker basket sat beside her on a checkered blanket that looked straight out of a movie scene. "You went all out," Patrick observed as they approached. Willow smiled, standing to greet them. "I actually made most of it myself. Wesley nearly had a heart attack seeing me in the kitchen." The picnic was perfect homemade sandwiches, slightly uneven but delicious, fresh fruit, and cookies that Willow admitted with a laugh were store-bought. "Baby steps in the culinary world," she explained. After they ate, Emma ran off to join a group of children playing with a frisbee nearby, leaving Patrick and Willow alone on the blanket. "Can I ask you something?" Patrick said after a comfortable silence. Willow nodded, leaning back on her elbows to face him. "Why me? Why us?" He gestured vaguely. "You could be spending your time with anyone." Willow considered his question seriously. "When I fainted at the gym, it was the culmination of 3 days without proper sleep or food, trying to save my company. I was pushing myself to exhaustion because I thought that's what was expected of me." She sat up, drawing her knees to her chest. "And then there you were, this complete stranger, showing genuine concern, not because of who I am or what I have, but just because I needed help." She looked over at Emma, who was laughing as she chased after the frisbee. "And then, this amazing little girl brought me juice and looked at me like I was just another person having a bad day. Do you know how rare that is in my world? People either want something from me or they treat me like I'm made of glass." Patrick understood then. "We didn't know who you were." "Exactly." Willow smiled. "With you, I'm just Willow, not the CEO, not the Winters heiress, not the woman on the Forbes list, just me." Patrick processed this new information heiress, Forbes list, but found it didn't change how he felt. The woman before him was still the same Willow who had spent hours helping Emma with her science project, who laughed at his terrible jokes, who texted him random thoughts in the middle of the day. "For what it's worth," he said finally, "I like just Willow very much." Her eyes met his, and the air between them seemed to charge with possibility. Slowly, giving him time to pull away, Willow leaned forward. Their lips met in a soft, questioning kiss that quickly deepened as Patrick responded, his hand coming up to cup her cheek. When they parted, both slightly breathless, Willow whispered, "I've been wanting to do that for weeks." "Me too," Patrick admitted. A shriek of delight interrupted them, and they turned to see Emma standing a few feet away, hands clasped over her mouth but eyes dancing with excitement. I knew IT, she exclaimed. I told Dad you were like Princess Tiana and Prince Naveen. Willow burst out laughing as Patrick's face reddened. Did you now? And which one of us is the frog? Emma considered this seriously. Well, Dad's not a prince, so I guess he's the frog. But that's okay because he turned into a prince at the end. Patrick groaned, but Willow just smiled, reaching for his hand. I don't know, Emma. I think your dad's always been a prince. Some people just couldn't see it. The 3 months that followed were the happiest Patrick could remember. Willow became a regular fixture in their lives, joining them for dinner most evenings, helping Emma with homework, and even attempting to learn basic cooking skills from Patrick. For his part, Patrick struggled at times with the disparity in their circumstances. He insisted on paying his way when possible, and was frank about his financial limitations. Willow respected his boundaries, never making him feel like a charity case, even as she subtly found ways to enrich their lives' tickets to Emma's favorite musical that were given to her by a client. A tablet for Patrick, that the company was just going to throw out anyway. The first real test of their relationship came when Patrick's car finally gave out completely, leaving him reliant on public transportation to get Emma to school and himself to work. I want to help, Willow said when he called to cancel their dinner plans, explaining the situation. Let me buy you a car. Absolutely not, Patrick replied firmly. I appreciate the offer, but no. Patrick, it wouldn't even be a dent in my, it's not about the money, he interrupted. It's about me taking care of my responsibilities. I've saved enough for a decent used car. I just need to find the right one. There was silence on the other end, and for a moment, Patrick feared he'd offended her. Then Willow said quietly, I understand, but would you at least let Wesley look at whatever you're considering buying? He knows cars, and he could make sure you're not getting ripped off. This compromise Patrick could accept, and Wesley proved invaluable in helping him find a reliable used sedan within his budget. The real breakthrough came one evening when Willow arrived at their apartment, visibly nervous. She paced the living room while Patrick prepared dinner, Emma watching her with curious eyes. Are you okay? Patrick finally asked. You seem anxious. Willow stopped pacing and took a deep breath. I have a proposition. A business proposition. Patrick set down the knife he'd been using to chop vegetables. I'm listening. Downtown Fitness is for sale, Willow said. The owner wants to retire. Patrick nodded slowly. Marcus mentioned he was thinking about it. What does that have to do with us? I want to buy it, Willow stated. And I want you to run it. Patrick stared at her, speechless. Hear me out, Willow continued quickly. It would be a sound investment. The gym has a loyal clientele, and with some upgrades to the equipment and maybe expanded class offerings, it could be even more profitable. You would have full operational control salary, benefits, everything a proper gym manager should have. Patrick found his voice. Willow, I can't let you buy a gym for me. I'm not, she insisted. I'm making a business investment and hiring the best person to manage it. The fact that I'm in love with that person is just a bonus. The words hung in the air between them. It was the first time either had used the word love. You're in love with Dad. Emma piped up from where she'd been silently following the conversation. Willow's expression softened as she looked at the child. Yes, Emma, I am, very much. Emma nodded as if this confirmed her suspicions all along. He loves you too. He smiles at his phone when you text. Patrick felt heat rise to his face, but he couldn't deny it. Emma's right, he admitted. I do love you, which is why I can't let you do this. Willow approached him, taking his hands in hers. Patrick, I spent my whole life being defined by my wealth. People either wanted it, resented it, or tried to protect me from it. You're the first person who's just wanted me, regardless of what I have or don't have. She squeezed his hands. But my wealth is part of who I am, just like your dedication to Emma and your work ethic are part of who you are. I'm not trying to change your life, I'm trying to be part of it. And this is something I can do that makes sense for both of us. Patrick looked into her eyes, seeing the sincerity there. Would I really have full control, No special treatment because we're together? Absolutely, Willow promised. It would be your gym to run as you see fit. I wouldn't interfere. And if? Patrick hesitated. If something happened between us, Willow's expression turned serious. Then you'd still have your job. We draw up proper contracts. This isn't about controlling you, Patrick. It's about creating opportunities together. Patrick considered her words, weighing his pride against practicality, his independence against partnership. Dad, Emma said quietly, remember what you told me about teamwork. How it's not about who's stronger, but how people can be stronger together. Patrick looked at his daughter, wise beyond her years, and then back at the woman he'd come to love against all odds. You've been thinking about this for a while, haven't you? Willow nodded. Since you mentioned Marcus was considering retirement 3 weeks ago. And you've already looked into the finances, a small smile. The gym is actually undervalued. With your expertise and some capital improvements, it could be incredibly successful. Patrick took a deep breath. Okay, let's talk details. 6 months later, Downtown Fitness, now rebranded as O'Brien Fitness Center, celebrated its grand reopening. The updated facility featured new equipment, expanded class offerings, and a dedicated children's area where Emma proudly showed off her artwork on the walls. Patrick stood near the entrance, greeting members both old and new, while Willow moved through the crowd, charming potential corporate clients with membership packages. Wesley appeared at Patrick's side, watching his sister work the room. I've never seen her this happy, he remarked. Not even when she closed her first $1 million deal. Patrick smiled, his gaze following Willow as she laughed with a group of women by the smoothie bar. She's amazing at this. At everything, really? No, Wesley corrected. She's amazing with you. You ground her. Before Patrick could respond, Emma tugged at his sleeve. She had appointed herself unofficial tour guide for the children's area and took her responsibilities very seriously. Dad, can I show the new kids the art supplies? She asked. Of course, Pumpkin. Just make sure everyone shares. As Emma scurried off, Willow approached, slipping her arm through Patrick's. How's it going, Mr. Gym Owner? Technically, you're the owner, he reminded her. Semantics, she dismissed with a wave. This place is all you. Patrick looked around at the thriving business, at his daughter happily engaging with other children, at the woman beside him who had changed his life in ways he never imagined possible. 1 year ago, he had been a struggling single father, working double shifts to make ends meet. Now he was running his own gym, providing a stable home for Emma, and sharing his life with a woman who saw his worth beyond his bank account. I have something for you, Willow said, pulling a small box from her pocket. A grand reopening gift. Patrick opened it to find a simple silver key. What's this? A key to my house, Willow replied. I thought maybe it's time we discuss the possibility of combining our living situations, only if you're ready, of course. Patrick looked at her, this brilliant, compassionate woman who had fainted at his gym and somehow fallen into his life. I think, he said slowly, we might need to discuss that over dinner. The 3 of us. That evening, as they sat around Willow's dining table, Emma already plotting which room would be hers in the big house, Patrick marveled at how life could change in an instant. One moment of kindness, one person in need, and suddenly the world tilted on its axis. What are you thinking? Willow asked, noticing his contemplative expression. Patrick smiled, taking her hand across the table. I'm thinking about the day you fainted at the gym. Not my finest moment, Willow laughed. I disagree, Patrick said. I think it might have been the universe's finest moment. Emma rolled her eyes dramatically. You guys are mushy like in the movies. But as Patrick and Willow exchanged loving glances, neither could deny that their story of a struggling father catching a fainting millionaire, clueless that she would fall for him, was indeed the kind of tale worthy of the silver screen. And they were just beginning there happily ever after.